Welcome to the Celebrity Gourmet Podcast, where we feature top bakery and specialty food entrepreneurs from around the world and share stories and tips on how to create a successful life in the baking world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We'll get started with Do You Hear Me Now? Saying what you mean and meaning what you say, authentic communication for professional and personal well-being in about 1 minute. While you're waiting, be sure to register for upcoming webinars at IDDBA.org. Tomorrow, June 12th, join Circana for Food the Biggest Influencer, a Circana Deep Dive, which is a rebroadcast of part 2 of their quarterly series exploring how IDDBA's 6 guiding trends are manifesting themselves in retail and beyond. Next week, we're back with a whole new set of live webinars. On Tuesday, June 18th, join us for The Love of Mustard, a virtual tour of the National Mustard Museum. Nestled in the heart of Middleton, Wisconsin, the National Mustard Museum's collection has grown to house over 6,000 jars from across all 50 states and more than 70 countries since its founding in 1992. Join Barry Levinson, museum curator, for a virtual tour of this one-of-a-kind Wisconsin attraction. On Wednesday, June 19th, join the IDDBA education team for a recap of what's in store live at IDDBA 2024 in Houston for an insider review of highlights, insights, and key takeaways. Don't miss this opportunity to catch up on what happened at What's in Store Live and learn how your company can get involved in What's in Store Live at IDDBA 2025 New Orleans. On Thursday, June 20th, join John Parker, Principal of Fresh Foods at Circana, and Jack Ince, Education Coordinator at IDDBA, for an insightful discussion of the latest dairy, deli, and bakery trends. We look forward to you joining us at an upcoming IDDBA webinar series event. You can find out more information and register on the IDDBA app or at our website. Deli associates, cheesemongers, and enthusiasts, get your study caps on. Registration is open for the second in-person charcuterie professional certification exam this year. The first was at the IDDBA show in Houston, Texas, and the second will take place at the American Cheese Society Conference in Buffalo, New York on July 10th. Exciting news, the IDDBA is teaming up once again with the University of Wisconsin School of Business for the 2024 Leadership Program. This program is tailored for mid-level leaders. Join us September 17th through 19th. You can register now at IDDBA.org under the Personal Resources tab, select Leadership Certificate Program. Reach out to education at IDDBA.org for more information. This webinar was pre-recorded, so we'll go ahead and get started with that now. Thank you again for joining us.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Karen Singlett-Hansen, Education Assistant at IDDBA. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Do you hear me now? Saying what you mean and meaning what you say. Authentic communication for professional and personal well-being. A couple of reminders before we get started. This is a recording, so the Q&A will not be live, but you are welcome to contact our speaker after if you have any questions. And the recording of this webinar will be available to members to view on IDDBA.org. Now I'd like to introduce today's presenter, Odette D'Aniello. With over 25 years of experience in the specialty food industry, she's the founder and CEO of Celebrity Gourmet Ventures Incorporated under the brands Celebrity Cake Studio and Dragonfly Cakes. It's a company that makes delicious, beautifully designed desserts for various occasions and markets. She's also the host of Celebrity Gourmet Podcast, a show that features inspiring stories and insights from successful entrepreneurs and leaders in the bakery and specialty food industry. Odette, thank you for joining us today.
I'm having technical issues with the arrows. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
I can, yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for being here. This is a recording. So for our June webinar, we have authentic communication, which is the direct follow-up of our last webinar, which is around boundaries. So the title is, Do You Hear Me Now? Saying What You Mean and Meaning What You Say, Authentic Communication for Professional and Personal Well-Being. To begin, I wanted to introduce myself. For those of you who are new, my name is Odette D'Aniello. I am the CEO and the founder of Celebrity Gourmet Ventures. I run a business with my family, my sister, Marianne, is my partner and has been my partner for 25 years. And there's my husband and my 2 adult children, along with our cousin Wallace. So we have been in this business for, like I said, all our lives, but for Celebrity Gourmet has been around for 25 years. So this webinar is really coming from somebody who's in the trenches. We are producers and manufacturers. We also are artists and creatives. And we are here to just share our experience with you, to contribute to your well-being, and also to contribute to the industry that has given us great experiences and a great life together. So today I wanted to talk about communication. And I like this quote. It's by William Shakespeare. To thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night, the day. Thou canst not be false to any man. Give yourself a second to think about that. So the power of authentic communication. Genuine and transparent communication, it builds trust and fosters stronger connections with customers, suppliers, and team members, and your family and your children. And authentic communication also impacts your brand reputation and customer loyalty within the bakery and specialty food business. I must tell you, we wouldn't be in business for 25 years if we didn't communicate it with our, between ourselves, our family, who we also work together, our team and our customers and our vendors. We have to have good systems so we understand each other and that we have clear connections and we're not stepping on each other's toes. So these are the reasons for why you want to focus on authentic communication. Authentic communication, it builds trust and connection. When you communicate, you express your true self, thoughts, and feelings. This honesty fosters trust and allows deeper connections to form with others. People appreciate genuineness and are more likely to be receptive to your message. So Dr. Brené Brown, she writes a lot about this, that people are just looking for connections. And when we're true and we're real, when we're talking to other people can easily connect with us, because when we speak with our heart, then people have access to that, right? So a lot of people may not understand your perspective in your brain, but your heart, it's like this vibration that when you emit, good, positive, and truthful intentions and thoughts, people really feel it. And they don't necessarily have to understand, but they feel it. Authentic communication also increases clarity and understanding. Authentic communication involves clear and concise expression. When you're direct and you avoid ambiguity, you ensure your message is understood as intended. This reduces misunderstandings and leads to a more productive interaction. We want to be clear and concise when we're communicating, because you know what? You don't want to waste your time, right? You want to make sure that people you get your point across and people get their point across. You don't want to go around the bend and still be confused at the end. It makes for efficiencies in the way we live and the way we interact with each other. So that's why we want to be clearly communicative. It also empowers and inspires. When you speak your truth with confidence, you inspire others to do the same. Authentic communication allows you to share your unique perspective and ideas and potentially sparking creativity and positive change. And especially in our bakery business and a specialty food business, you want people to be fully themselves. And when you speak truthfully and with confidence with yourself, between your peers and your leadership team and your vendors and your customers, people are more comfortable talking to you. And maybe they're more comfortable being themselves and sharing their own creativity and their own perspective. And that just enhances your own life, right? Like each other's lives. So it's authentic communication empowers and inspires. And that's super important. And now some action steps. When we're communicating, we want to be able to listen first, right? To truly listen is to understand another person's perspective. Before formulating your response, you ask clarifying questions and pay attention to nonverbal cues. And this shows respect and creates a safe space for open communication. You don't want to be, there's sometimes when we're so excited and people are telling us something and then you're just interjecting like, oh yeah. What about my vacation? Like, they're telling you about their awesome vacation. They're like, well, I went there, and they haven't finished what they said yet. They actually had a point in telling you this, because maybe it's an employee who's telling you, I had a great vacation, and you're like, oh, I had a vacation, and their intention was to quit. And then you didn't read the room that they were actually uncomfortable telling you this. Well, and they just wanted to start with that. So you have to just listen first and then interject. And then also, like, it's really important to acknowledge and validate what people say. So deep listening means that you acknowledge what people are saying. These are really important ways to acknowledge somebody. When they're telling you something, you're like, okay, what you're saying is that you had a great vacation. And let me see if I understood you. You had a great vacation, but now you want to quit your job because that's all you want to do is be on vacation. You basically have, you want to tell people that you have some sort of, like, you're in this same pathway and roadway with them. You're walking the same path, and you're understanding them each and every way, each and every step while they're speaking. And then you can also say, like, what you're telling me is that you're unhappy because, of this and that, or you could say, in other words, you are. And so if you heard it wrong, then they can say, no, that's not what I said. But if it is, then you can validate it. You say you have the right to feel this way because, I would be tired too if I was working that much. Or it's understandable that you'd be upset that, so-and-so said this about, the situation without telling you first. Or you say, you feel unheard, or, kind of dismissed. No wonder why you feel this way. So this opens up a conversation around, okay, what is really the cause of this particular feeling that we need to clarify? What is the cause of, this drama or the situation in the workplace or in your family? And this is really important especially with raising kids. And this is what I learned as a mom, because now my kids are older. And, to acknowledge what they say. Yeah, I totally understand why you didn't do your homework, because, you had a game to finish and your Minecraft city needed to be built. And I would be upset too if I had a Minecraft city that needed to be built and I had homework, and then I just go into other things like, in the end, what is your goal actually? Is it to be the best Minecraft person? I'm just giving you some parenting tips just because I thought it's been really helpful for me as a parent to use these deep listening and communication skills with my kids too, other than, in the workplace. So it's very applicable. And when you're communicating, here's another action step, is when you want to express yourself clearly and honestly. Be mindful of your tone and your body language, and ensure your words align with your emotions and what you truly want to convey. Like for years, I've been in business for so long, like 25 years, for years, I did not have the self-awareness that when I am in a focus mode and I want to get things done, like I want to just reach from A to B, I can be like literally a gorilla in the bakery. Like I could just go in and start in mid-sentence say, this needs to be done. And no one understands. Like they were just going about their day, having a time of their lives, just relax. And then I walk in and I'm a gorilla. I'm just saying that this needs to be done, but they don't have the context of where I'm coming from. It's like, oh, maybe the context is that there's a big order that is coming in and we need to get it done yesterday because a customer has called me and told me that they were unhappy, or, but we need to make sure that we are aligning our words and our emotions. Because if your emotions, and I always grade my emotions like from 1 to 10, if your emotions are, from 1 to 10, and you're, like if it's a 10 and the situation maybe is a 5, it's not in alignment. You've overreacted. And I can say that because I've been there. Like, maybe it's not that dire and nobody really understands why you're so concerned, because it's not that dire, but you are now at a 10, upset and pissed, and your team is at a 5 of like, that's not necessarily a problem. So a lot of miscommunication happens there when we're not aligned in our response in the situation and the energetics of that we put into our responses. And also when our body language and our tone is condescending, which is very, very easy to miss when we're condescending to other people, when we're thinking that they're lower than us or they're dumb, or you slowly speak because you think that they don't understand English. So you speak it louder. So, be very careful about like really how you put yourself out there. And it really requires a lot of self-awareness that I too, I'm just learning, I'm just learning too, that I have to be very self-aware of how I show up and what the impact that what I'm saying and how I'm saying it and the tone that I'm saying it is having on the people that's receiving it. And here's one thing too, when you're communicating, avoid sarcasm and assuming people understand what you mean to say. English is my second language. And a lot of times, although I've spoken it since I was 10, I'm very fluent. I also speak 2 other different languages. So a lot of times when people are sarcastic, they think that it's funny. It's not funny, because you are basically opening the door for miscommunication, fiasco. People don't necessarily understand that you're being sarcastic to be funny. You just need to be clear, like what you're saying, because sarcasm is a way of like diminishing. It's a very diminishing way to talk to somebody. So just be aware of that. And also ask to affirm understanding. Just say, to my understanding, is this what you said? Like, this is what I'm hearing you say. Is this truly what you mean? So that's really important when we're communicating, especially as a team, right? Because everybody is coming into the bakery or to the deli or to, wherever the workplace with, a lot of baggage from home. And we want to make sure that we understand each other in the context that, what we're hearing comes from or what we're saying comes from. And when we're communicating, we want to embrace vulnerability, right? When vulnerability, according to Brene Brown, it sounds like truth and feels like courage. Truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they're never weakness. But vulnerability means that we are putting ourselves out there and are basically opening ourselves up to be hurt or criticized or demeaned in some ways or not validated. But when we're vulnerable, it also opens up the possibility of a connection, authentic connection with another person. Because when we're sharing our authentic self, even our vulnerabilities, it can be powerful. And it also allows others to connect with us on a deeper level because it fosters empathy within our relationships. It's once you talk to somebody about, yeah, you know what, it's not that easy to run a business. It's a lot of people, my family and I run this business. They think it's so fun and easy and that, we somehow lucked into it, but we didn't. It was just really hard. And I like to say that it has been a big challenge and it has not been an easy road. And when you say that, people are like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I feel the same way too. And then from there, you have a connection. So when we're talking, we want to set clear expectations and boundaries. I don't know what happened to the rest. Oh, there it is. Set clear expectations and boundaries. And what does that mean? Like when this is really important for me. And we did have this entire webinar, so I'm not going to go over it again. So if you want to, listen to the boundaries webinar, it was last month. But I run this business with my family and my husband, David, and I. There's a photo of us. This is years ago, maybe 10 years ago with our old logo. It is really important that we set boundaries and our expectations because, then we know how to walk and where to walk. And when everybody understands their roles and responsibilities and what's expected of them, there's less room for confusion and frustration. Clearer expectations eliminates the guesswork, allowing individuals to focus their energy and avoid wasted effort. So between me and my husband, running this business with my husband and my family has been such an interesting exercise because, gosh, we've had to be very clear about our roles and responsibilities. Like, for example, my husband and I, we have a relationship that's our marriage. We have a relationship as business partners. We have a relationship that's we're parents, we're friends, we're dance partners, we're best friends, we're lovers. We are, and all of those have certain boundaries around them. We don't talk about the bakery, for example, when we're having a marital row, right? Where we're having a discussion about our own, our family. We have clear boundaries around how we speak and when we're speaking it and what role we're playing at that moment. It has helped us a lot. We've been together for 32 years. And it also improves accountability. Clearly defined boundaries sets the parameter for professional interactions. This fosters accountability as everyone is aware of their limitations and what they can realistically achieve. It also helps avoid micromanagement and empowers individuals to take ownership of their work. So my family, my sister is my partner, and we have a system called EOS, it's Entrepreneur Operating System that we run our business with. I am the visionary. So I basically am the, overarching person that looks at the overall scope and strategy of the business. And my sister is the integrator. So she's the one that does the day-to-day work. So we have defined boundaries on what we do and where we are. So I am not going to go into the bakery and just tell everybody what to do, right? Because that's my sister's responsibility. We're accountable for our roles, and we're very clear about that. So we're not stepping on each other's foot. My sister and I have been in business together for 25 years. So obviously we communicate really well together, and we try to avoid, stepping on each other's foot. And we're very clear about what's going to go, who does what, who's accountable for whom. And that is all on either a thread of our text or an email chain. And we need to, we're constantly working on it. And it's not just a one-time deal. We're constantly working on it every day. So if you want to get into business or into work relationship with family and your family, it can work. I can attest to that. And also open and vulnerable communication enhances collaboration. When expectations and boundaries are transparent, teamwork becomes smoother. Individuals can collaborate more effectively by understanding each other's strengths and limitations and fosters a more respectful and supportive work environment, leading to better problem solving and innovation. This picture is a bit old. So this is our team at that time, doing a Thanksgiving dinner. And we still offer Thanksgiving dinner years, even now. So I just couldn't find a photo of a recent team, but this was many, many years ago. So we have a system for making sure we are understanding who and what the roles are of everyone in the team. And you know what? If they belong in the team, they stay. And, we want to make sure that everybody who wants to be in the team stays, and who doesn't, needs to go to their next best opportunity. So we're very open to that. And open communication we have open communication through a system called EOS, like I said, and we have regular discussions with with ourselves, our leadership team and our managers. And it clearly defined expectations, and we have project deadlines, and we want to make sure that everybody has and understands our communication style. It encourages open dialogue to address any concerns or questions promptly. A lot of times it's sometimes can be very, very charged. And you know what? I think, just in my opinion, if your team is too nice and you don't have conflicts, it's not that functional, because ultimately we thrive in being clear, and we're not necessarily going to be aligned. So it's important to have conflict, and it's important to have disagreements. And you can't have a disagreement if you don't have open communication. And it's okay to say, look, I don't think that's right. And, we get called out all the time by, by our team to say, look, that's not good. Just it's because it's a fact check of your own perspective. And it's really important. We have we have weekly leadership meetings. We have managers meetings, and then we have department meetings. And all of that is also supported by end of day notes. And we have a WhatsApp, and we have all kinds of ways to talk to each other so that we understand what is going on in the workplace and within our individual circles, right? Be it our family, be it our team, because we have different teams, and our departments, and also the organization as a whole. And you want to reinforce communications by putting expectations in writing. This could be project plans, contract, job descriptions, or even a simple email follow-up summarizing key points. Documentation serves as a reference point and reduces the likelihood of misunderstandings later. So then, every time we have an event, every single time we have, initiative, we have like, okay, this is our plan. This is how it worked or did not work, and why, and how we can improve later. We have very clear contracts with our customers. We tell them, look, this is a custom job. It's non-refundable. We want to make sure, our partners, our distributors, our brokers understand what we do and what our capacities are when it comes to production, because we have a retail and wholesale business. We want to make sure that people know where we're going and how we make decisions, so that they're not surprised or disappointed that we can't do things. But when, the most important thing is that when we do say we're going to do something, we actually do it to the best of our ability. And other than that, we say no. And a lot of times we say no. And we also maintain respectful boundaries when we're and to be mindful, we're mindful of our own and another's time and workload. We respect deadlines and communication channels. We're not, we avoid at all costs texting late because people are on their breaks, or not breaks, but on their appointments, or their vacations, right? So we don't necessarily cross boundaries like that. And if you anticipate exceeding your capacity or need adjustments to deadlines, communicate proactively and avoid causing delays for others. We wouldn't be in business for this long if we were lackadaisical about, meeting deadlines or doing what we say we're going to do. We're very, very particular about that. And we project out like, okay, we can or can't do this. We make sure customers know if things are in progress, and if if we're on the right track or not. We're super particular about that. And we're also super particular about each other's time and workload, so that when we're doing something, you're not doing it half willingly or half the effort. Because when you're doing it half the effort, if you have the time to do it half-assed, then you have the time to redo it. I like that. So anyway, but that is basically what we, as an organization, just do it right the first time. And because if you don't do it right, you're gonna have to redo it again anyway. And that's how we deal with customers too. And let's see what's next here. And the last, and I always, really important is to focus on self-care. When you're expressing oneself authentically, it's vital to maintain personal well-being and fulfillment, both within and outside the professional realm. You want to prioritize self-care because when we're not feeling good, then we're less patient and we're more reactive to situations and people around us. I, for one, can attest to that. So it's important to make sure that you are bodily, mentally, and physically well cared for before you can expect yourself to be at your best with others. Prioritize rest and relaxation, practice mindfulness or meditation, maintain healthy boundaries with people, say no when you can't do something, be clear about what you're available to do or not. Don't say yes when you don't mean it. Just really take care of yourself. Nourish your body and your mind. Make sure that, you're not overtaxing yourself and then expecting, that you can be really a good boss or a good, team member when you're just plain old tired. Take care and, love yourself and rest. And also surround yourself with supportive relationships, people who care about you, people who believe in you, and, be conscious about those toxic environments, of people who constantly make you feel a little bit shaved down or a little bit diminished, and be very, very conscious of that and limit the exposure to them. Because you know what? The more we expose ourselves to people who are positive and who believe in us, the more we believe in ourselves, and the more we can believe in other people. And it is this, virtuous cycle of, support and authentic, connections with other people. And that just, makes life a little bit more joyful when we live it that way. And so here's some action steps for authentic communication. Conduct your self-assessment of your current communication style and identify areas of improvement. This is really important. Self-awareness is important, but so is self-correction. So being aware of how you are and how you show up is great, but if you don't self-correct, what's the point? So self-correct, and it requires humility, but self-correction is also very important. Practice active listening techniques during, customer interactions and team meetings, and also family meetings, and with your contacts with your family, with your husband and children, and focus on understanding others' perspectives without judgment, and really, practice that deep listening of affirming and validating, acknowledging and validating, what you hear. And develop a communication protocol for your bakery or specialty food business. Outline clear expectations for internal and external communications, be it, your weekly, monthly, quarterly meetings, be it, end of day notes, be it, WhatsApp chat with your team. Make sure that you have this protocol so people understand what's going on within your organization. And also with your customers. We have a lot of communication with our customers so that they have a way to give us feedback on what we do right or what we do wrong. And then implement regular feedback sessions with your team members to encourage open dialogue and constructive criticism. My sister's really good at this because she runs the bakery. I don't necessarily, this is not my department in our organization, but my sister is really good at, having good feedback sessions with our team members so that we understand what's going on. And then I go back in and talk to our leadership team and the managers when I'm at the bakery so that I can understand what is going on in the plant. And also, this is super duper important. Dedicate time each day for self-reflection and mindfulness practices such as meditation and journaling to nurture your personal well-being and enhance your communication skills. This I spend, 95% of my time on because as a leader, the only thing that is going to be the most impactful thing is to work on yourself. Like you can go work externally and, to work with your team, but if you're in a mess inside, it just shows up on the outside. So it's really important, the self-reflection and self-care and mindfulness practices and having the self-awareness and nurturing yourself, becomes a priority, because when you do that, then the way you show up in the world is clearer and much more joyful, and also enhances your interactions and your connections and your communication skills. So with that, I always end my webinars with this: the choice to live in joy is the choice to love yourself. Thank you. And my name again is Odette D'Aniello. To get copies of this deck, you can email me at odette@celebritygourmet.com or connect with me on LinkedIn at Odette D'Aniello, or you can listen to my podcast under celebritygourmet.com. It is on YouTube, Spotify, and all the podcast platforms. Thanks so much for listening, and thank you.
Thank you, Odette. We've got some questions here to ask. What are some ways to enhance communication with your team members?
I like to do it in the break room. So hanging around in the break room and just talking to the team. We also have a lot of team bonding, things like 2 nights ago, we were at a baseball game together, and, casual interactions just help with, casual communication with the team. But then we have formal communications where we have end of day notes. We have department management and leadership team meetings that happen on a regular cadence, and then we just follow up and follow through from there.
Okay, and see what else we have here. How is communication different with a family business versus a non-family business?
So I think the non-family business might be a little bit easier in some ways, in that, there's no baggage in the background of, I was your big sister, or I was a little sister, or this is what you did to me when I was in 2nd grade, which can happen. This is speaking from experience. So my sister and I are 10 years apart. So we have to have a bit of layered communication, so that we're like, okay, I'm talking to you as your partner here, not as your big sister, or like as your little sister. Because, my sister and I are very close, and we maintain our close relationship by just having, we're talking business here. We're not talking about anything else. So we're very clear about how this conversation starts. And then with my husband and me, the same thing. It has taken years, but we're so clear at the onset of what this, conversation is about, and where it's heading, and what the goal is. And then we can go from there. So if the goal is to get this thing resolved with the business, well, that's the communication that we're doing. And maybe my tone may be a little bit more business-like, because I talk very differently as the CEO of a business than as a mom or as a wife, because I'm a way 100% sillier in my non-business life than in my as my role as CEO, especially since, sometimes my humor might be misunderstood. So then, I'm very clear about, what role I'm playing at that moment. And same with my children. They work for me, and actually they don't work under me specifically, except my daughter might, she will be coming in and working for me, or with me, we say with, but we are very clear about, look, I'm your mom and I'm your boss. So, but this is business, and that has been very helpful. And I don't think you need to do that, when it's non-family. You don't have to say, you could just say, look, I'm your boss, but I'm also your friend. But I'm speaking to you as your boss, or I'm speaking to you as a friend. So it's just clear to know what role you're speaking from. And also speak with heart. That's really super important.
Thank you. Can you give an example of when there was a communication breakdown with someone in your team and how you fixed it?
Yeah, so there's a lot so especially when what things are allowed or not allowed. We always have, like, I, had a team member, she was, who had a baby, and I was babysitting, and I would bring the baby up to my office. Her baby was the cutest little one. And I would, since I'm just in my office doing paperwork, I would have her baby in the crib in my office. It's separate from the plant. So it's not like there was no, the baby is not inside a dangerous place because my office is upstairs. But then this was the expectation that I would do that all the time. But then, at some point there were no children allowed. We had to declare that no children were allowed in any part of the plant because of third-party audits. And that expectation had to be corrected. And, it had to be a very heartfelt conversation. Look, I can't do that anymore. And, you'll have to find childcare elsewhere. Although I really enjoyed it. I know this is what happens when you have a family business, right? So that's, it was a bit disappointing for, for all of us involved. But what we do is we remediate, and when we've misunderstood or our expectations are not met, we have one-on-one conversations and say, this is my expectation, or I know that this was what the expectation I led you to believe, or that it was going to be consistent, but things have changed and this is what's happening. So that is important. And also when people are, the organization itself changes, like we had managers and departments before, and then we decided we're going to come into a different model of management. So everybody had to, be alerted, like you're no longer have this particular role. It's now, rolling up or down. And, people just need to understand that things change. And sometimes we miss, we're maybe not communicative enough. But if we have a way to self-correct and be self-aware, then communication comes back in line. It really is about self-awareness, not just as an individual, but also as an organization. Self-awareness and self-correction is super duper important when, you want to come back in line into full understanding and, full connection with each other as people and also as a team in an organization.
Okay, and how is that different than, can you give an example where you've had this communication problem with a customer and have repaired that miscommunication?
Oh, 10 million times. There's so many, especially since, we do a lot of custom work. And, some customers think that, I don't even know where to start. There's just so many ways that you can misunderstand, a particular color, for example. Pink is not just pink. There's Pepto-Bismol pink, there's baby pink, there's all kinds of pink. And, there are so many ways to misunderstand a particular design or a particular, product. And when we do that, and it happens a lot, no matter how robust the system is, there's just so many ways to misunderstand because people really believe what they believe or understand what they understand and stick to that, even if it's in writing. So we have very clear descriptions, and we also make sure that we repeat ourselves over and over and over again. I mean, to give an example, I don't where to start. Let me think. There's just so many, and I don't want to have a particular situation because it'd be familiar to the people involved. But like I said, there's just many different ways to misunderstand, intentions. But if we have a clear way of self-correcting and having self-awareness of how you've communicated and your role in the miscommunication, then you can correct it and hopefully to the satisfaction of the people involved.
All right.
I hope I answered your question, unless you want me to give you like specific examples.
If you have specific examples that you're comfortable giving, that would be great. But if you want to preserve that for your clients, that's okay too.
Oh, yeah, I think I want to preserve this.
All right, sounds good.
It can go on, and some of them are just hilarious, but I don't necessarily want to say just because it will be familiar to the people involved.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I don't have any other questions for you at this time, so go ahead and wrap up. On behalf of the IDDBA, I'd like to thank Odette D'Aniello for today's insightful and informative session. If you're interested in presenting or sponsoring an IDDBA webinar, please contact us at webinars@iddba.org or visit our webinars page at iddba.org under the Trend Center tab. Thanks everyone for attending and for your continued support of the IDDBA. Have a great rest of your day.
As a company, Euresic Label has found great value in being a member of IDDBA, not only with the show, but with the opportunity to contribute in committees. It provides great connection with a lot of these other companies and opportunity to be able to not only showcase our product, but talk about some of their challenges and how we can help them achieve success in their areas.
Thanks for listening to the Celebrity Gourmet Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.